Hi, this is Corey McCarthy, and welcome to a new episode of Fit, Formidable, and Fantastic. That's right, go after yourself. Now, this week I want to discuss something very important to training properly and growing, and that is the mind-muscle connection. Now, one of my viewers has specifically asked me how I personally achieve the mind-muscle connection, so this video will be my own take on that. Now, different body parts, I have different ways. Some are easy to try to describe. Some are a little more difficult to put into words. So I will do the best I can here. But the key thing you want to try to remember is that when seeking the mind-muscle connection, you want to use a weight that you can control under tension and can even hold static holds at the peak of a contraction with. So use a weight, again, that you can control, not one you're going to be slinging around. One that you can control no matter how long the eccentric and concentric portion of the rep is, and even be able to squeeze at the peak. If you can't feel it, if you can't control it, and that weight's controlling you and making you its bitch, then you are using too much fucking weight. Drop it back. You will not be able to achieve optimal workload nor mind-muscle connection with something that's too heavy for you to control. You must be in control. So choose a weight, that being said, that will allow you to fail at your target rep range that you can control. So moving on, the next step to mind-muscle connection is being able to feel the muscle you're working. That's what mind-muscle connection is, being able to mentally connect with the muscle you're trying to work. Now, most of us probably have a pretty good mind-muscle connection with our biceps. You know, every time we flex, we are essentially contracting that muscle. We're mentally making that muscle, we're putting ourselves into that muscle. It's hard. I'm really trying to find a way to describe this. It's hard, but when you flex, you're telling yourself you want to flex. So you're telling your brain to tell your muscle to contract. So when you work biceps, for instance, you want to be able to contract as if you're flexing on each rep. And that mental connection with your biceps is the mind-muscle connection, being able to feel that contraction, feel that workload at the peak especially, and being able to taper it off as you're going through the negative and increase it as you're coming through the positive up to the flex again and hold that flex. Same thing with triceps. When you push down and you flex that triceps hard at the end, you mentally connect with that muscle. That's your mind-muscle connection. Now with your back, you want to try to imagine that you're moving the weight load with your back. So when you pull, imagine that your arms are sort of just there to anchor yourself to whatever the object is you're holding, the barbell, dumbbell, cable, whatever. And your back is leading the motion. You want to feel that, pull with your back. That's the way to think of it for the back. For the chest, you want to try to imagine you're pushing one chest at a time, peck at a time. Imagine you're pushing those mountains outward. Imagine them like mountains. That's what I try to do when I'm doing a bench press or whatever. I try to envision my chest muscles as mountains, and I'm pushing them out. I guess the way to look at it is, guys who puff their chest up. Well, puff your chest up as you're doing the chest work. Puff your chest out. Watch them push out. Imagine them being mountain peaks pushing the fuck out. That's what you want for your chest work, under the tension of the weight. So that's for chest there. For legs, it's really the same kind of thing as you do with your arms. In my opinion, that's how I feel it. Like, for instance, I treat my quadriceps a lot like my triceps, because I consider them sort of a pressing muscle. In fact, when I do antagonistic splits, I'll put quads with back, for instance. I'll treat the quads like the push movement, and the back is the pull movement, obviously. So look at it that way, try to envision like that you're squeezing those quads as you would your triceps, but on your quads instead. So at the top of the squat, really flex those quads and really release them as you go towards the bottom. Then you start coming into the hamstrings. As you get lower into the movement, the hams and glutes get more involvement, and you can flex them to push out of the out of the hole in the squat and start flexing those quads up. So you're really engaging both your thigh muscles and your gluteal muscles in a squat, for instance, or a leg press or a hack squat or whatever. When you start doing isolation work, for instance, with leg extensions, you're going to really start flexing those quads. Imagine you're flexing those quads to push the weight up. And with the hamstring curls, for instance, imagine that it's like when you're curling with your biceps. Imagine that you're flexing the hamstring muscle to curl that weight up. With calves, they're, again, like a pushing movement. I imagine them like, again, triceps. I try to imagine really squeezing those calves to the top. And they're going to burn. They're going to really burn. The leg muscles are notable for feeling like they're on fire when you're working them properly and you're working them hard under tension and going to failure. So that's one way to look at that. Now with deltoids, again, it's you want to pay attention in the entire range. They're really difficult for some, and it's really hard for me to put deltoids into words. But watch the mirror. Really watch your deltoids in the mirror. Do you see them flexing and contracting and puffing in and out as you're doing your lateral raises and what have you, or doing your upright rows or whatever it may be? Are you getting that squeeze at the top and then slowly releasing under tension? Are you leading with your elbows, for instance, in lateral raises and imagining that your deltoids are pulling the elbows up and your forearms and your hands are just anchored to the dumbbells? With overhead pressing, it's one of those kind of things I find that I never really had to focus too hard on my muscle connections. Sort of when I'm pressing a heavy ass weight overhead, my deltoids are engaged. Like I can see them, the sinews working and churning around in there and flexing under the tension above them. If you're pushing heavy loads that you can manage with an overhead press, you're likely engaging your deltoids pretty well, and your triceps are involved too as a peripheral support muscle. So really that's that. And some tricks you can do, for instance, is that don't always just look. Look in the beginning. Watch yourself in the mirror. Watch your form. Watch the muscle working. Really try to zoom in. Focus in on that muscle. Really try to think about it. Think about it when you're working on it. Really think about it. Look at it and think about it. It's like with concentration curls, for instance. It's called concentration curls for a reason. You're concentrating on the biceps. You're really looking at them. You're thinking about them. You're engorging them with blood. You're working on them and you're thinking about them. But once you get into the groove of the movement and you've got and you've already been thinking about it and you're working it and you're within the set, for instance, maybe your second set, close your eyes. Close your eyes, and can you really feel that muscle working? Can you feel it tightening and getting harder and filling with blood and all of that? Close your eyes. That can help. That can help, take the visuals out and help the mind take over and develop a stronger connection. Another thing you can do too is that when you're working a specific muscle, for instance, your back, really try to think your biceps out of the movement and really, like I said, pulling with your back. Your arms just anchored to it. They're not pulling the weight. They're not picking up the slack. This is not a biceps movement. Your biceps are involved. Yes, in back movements, your biceps are involved. But you should really be trying to pull the brunt of the load with your back, thinking about it. Really think about it. If you're in the gym and just going through the motions, and you're not really working, and you're not really thinking about what you're doing, and that's careless. That's just careless, bud. That's just careless, and what the fuck are you doing? If you are trying to lift for improvement, for strength, aesthetics, functionality in sport, whatever, you should really be into it. You should have a passion for it. No one's putting a gun to your head and saying, go lift weights, get bigger, get stronger, whatever. This is a choice. It's purely elective. So why elect to do something you're just going to fuck off with? You're not really going to try to do to the best of your abilities. So really think. Use every method you possibly can. Visuals, closing your eyes, the mental images. Even visualizations like Arnold would do with his biceps, imagining mountain peaks getting bigger and higher and flushing outward, growing up from the ground. These kind of things really do help. And again, using a weight you can manage does play into that as well, so that you can really feel what you're doing. Beyond that, I don't know what else to say about it. That's really, developing a mind-muscle connection is something that you have to practice, you have to work with, you have to want, you have to keep doing it, try to get better at it every time. Something you can do also when you're at home, and this may sound completely conceited and like, you're a narcissist or something, but flexing, practicing your posing in front of a mirror, really trying to, at all times, get connected with your body. So many people out there are at a disconnect with their body. They don't know how to listen to their body. It doesn't even matter with diet or whatever, anything. They can't listen to their body. They are at a complete disconnect mentally from the rest of their body. But a bodybuilder, and I found as being a bodybuilder, it's really improved my connect, my entire body's connect with the rest of it, with as all as one whole, and posing really helps. Static poses, holds to the point where it hurts and you have to stop. This is not just something for somebody who's going to compete on stage. Anybody who's looking to improve their physique, improve their strength and their performance should really be trying to match their head, their mind with the rest of their body. And that's all I have to say about that. Now, if you have any questions, you want me to clarify something, you want me to get into something a little more specific, please leave comments below as always. And other than that, until next time, stay fit, stay formidable, and stay fantastic. I will see you around.